and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another currently inked 10 pens for this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have the Visconti Opera Master Corvina. We have the Visconti Opera Master Stardust. We have the Atelier Lusso Andromeda in the Vulcan's Forge. We have an Atelier Lusso Andromeda in the Tectonic Seas. We have a Pelikan M805 Ocean Swirl, a Pelikan M805 Vibrant Blue, a Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog, a Visconti Homo Sapiens Caput Mundi, a Visconti Homo Sapiens Jade, and last but not least, a Visconti Homo Sapiens Midnight in Florence. So I think let's go through these pens in a little bit more detail. So this is the very stunning Visconti Opera Master, and this is the Corvina, and this was a True Fay exclusive, which unfortunately has long sold out, but you'll see there that this material is quite captivating. It's a little bit more of a popcorn effect going on there. It does have a sort of a metal section. This is quite a heavy pen, and it does have a 23 cap palladium medium, sorry, not medium, a stub nib on there. I don't know why I said medium nib, because maybe it's because I've been writing more with medium nibs lately, but that is a 1.3mm stub nib, and these are quite heavy pens, but they are pens that I do like writing with. So I have that one inked up this week, and I also have its sibling, the Visconti Opera Master Stardust, which for me is still the more beautiful of the two pens, but this is more of a galaxy going on there in the pen. Now this does have a ruthenium trim that you can see here, a very blacked out trim, which I do like with this pen. A blacked out metal section here, and then the nib again is another 1.3mm stub nib. It's a 23 cap palladium nib, but I do like writing with these pens a lot, so for me I do find that these are nice writing pens. They are smooth, they are very wet, and they do put down a very broad line, so you've got to be a little bit careful on where you write with these. I like writing with them on Tomoe River or also Oxford Optic paper as well. The next pen I have inked up this week is the Atelier Lusso Andromeda, and this is the Vulcan's Forge, and you'll see that there's an L there for Lusso, and this is a material that I had hand-picked from a rod site to be made into a pen. I just wanted this fiery orange because I like orange inks, and I thought it would be a shame if I had ordered some pens and I hadn't ordered an orange pen. So this is a clipless pen, so you do have to be a little bit careful rolling off the desk. It does come with a Jowo broad steel nib, but I find these nibs are quite good writers. They are not fire hose nibs, but they are still fairly wet, and I do find that they are very smooth and very consistent nib to nib. So if you like consistency between nibs and you don't mind a broad nib, I'd definitely say go for the Jowo broad steel nibs. I do have some medium nibs, and I do have some different sort of experiences between each nib, like I would get on most pens, but for the broad nibs I found them very, very consistent. The next pen I have is the Atelier Lusso Andromeda, and this is the Tectonic Seas, and this really is just a stunning pen. I love looking at this on my desk and when I'm holding the pen, when I'm writing with the pen, because it really is quite a captivating pen. That all of that white chatoyance going on there in the body, it really is nice. And again, another L for Lusso there on the cap, and you will see here again another Jowo broad nib there, and this is again another smooth writing nib. So for me, I like them. I do like these Yovo nibs. So I'd buy a lot more pens, honestly, with a Yovo steel nib. I do like my gold nibs and I do like my palladium nibs. I like a nib that has a little bit more of a bounce to it if I can get that in a nib. But equally, I do and I can still use a broad steel nib as a workhorse writing nib and write with it for days on end, weeks on end even, without any issue whatsoever. So it really sort of varies depending on what type of nib that you like, but I can go with various types of nibs. The next pen is a Pelikan M805 Ocean Swirl, and this one I have inked up this week as well, and you can just see that sort of lovely pattern going on there in the body. I do like it. I like the Ocean Swirl a lot. I went to sell some Pelikans in 2019, and I was debating on whether or not to sell this pen or not, and I decided I wouldn't because I do like this. And I'm glad that I didn't, actually, because I think I would have probably kicked myself. This also has a 18 karat gold broad Pelikan nib, but this, for me, is a nice writing pen, so I'm glad that I actually did keep hold of that. Sometimes we've got to look at our pen collections and think, okay, what pens should I or could I let go of, make way for some more pens. Sometimes it's about finances, sometimes it's about not having enough storage for the pens, or sometimes it's just that you don't want to go over a certain number of pens in your collection. And that probably mostly is the latter one for me. I've been trying to keep it under 200 pens and keeping it around about 160, 170. I think I'm around about 180 now. So I might have to do another cull in the coming months. Who knows? The next pen I have here is the Pelikan M805 Vibrant Blue, and I love this cracked ice effect. This was a pen that I thought was long sold out and that I couldn't get, and then lo and behold, a UK retailer, I was just surfing their website seeing what pens that they had, because they didn't have a few of the pens that they used to have, and I suddenly stumbled across this and I thought, I'm pretty sure that they don't have this in stock, and lo and behold they did. So I was glad that I was able to pick this up, and pick this up for a good price as well. So this is a really nice pen. I love writing with this one. So again, this is a 18 karat gold broad Pelikan nib. But I love the pen. I do find the Pelikan M800s a little bit more on the narrow side for me. The sections, I like writing with it, but I tend to hold it up here a little bit more when I'm writing with it. But I like the rigid 18 karat gold nibs. They actually remind me very much of the Yovo steel nibs. They are very rigid, very stiff nibs, but I find I can write with them a lot. And then we have my workhorse writing pen, and this is the Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog, and I do love writing with this. And this has a 23 karat palladium fine nib on there, and I just love how this writes, and I can write with this taking meeting notes. I've started gravitating a little bit more towards fine nibs in 2020, and either fine nibs or fine medium nibs, and I can write with medium nibs all day long, but I actually do like the slight crispness of a fine nib and a narrower nib, but I still can't quite get down to using an extra fine nib for me. The next pen here is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Caput Mundi, and this is a beautiful pen. I like that it's a demonstrator. All of the Homo Sapiens hold 2.5 milliliters of ink, which is a lot of ink. So if you don't like to have a pen that holds a lot of ink, if you like to swap inks out very quickly, then this probably is not the pen for you. But if you like to be able to write and write again with a pen, then this is a pen, because it will virtually never run out of ink. And that has a 23 karat palladium medium nib on there, but this I find is an ideal pen. Great for taking meeting notes, and I never have to refill it when I'm at work. And even more so with a fine nib on the London Fog, because at that point you're using even less ink. The next pen I have inked up is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Jade, and as you can see that is quite a full pen there. You can see the ink through the barrel there. It is a sort of a semi-opaque body there, but for me, I like it. I like this pen a lot. It has a jade gemstone there, which you cannot actually change. So just be aware of that if you do buy it. And it also has a 23 cat palladium medium nib there. So for me, again, I just like the Homo sapiens range. I find that they are comfortable to write with, and I just gravitate to picking these up more so than probably any other pen in my collection. So I do tend to normally have some of these in my rotation. And sometimes, like this week, I have more in my rotation. And then last but not least, we have the Visconti Homo Sapiens Midnight in Florence. And this is a pen that I added in 2020. I didn't think I was going to add any more Viscontis, or necessarily even more Visconti Homo Sapiens, but then this one did come along. I got the chance to review it, and I got the chance to buy it. So this again has another 23 cat palladium medium nib there, but this is a really, really nice size pen. I like the swirls, I like the pattern, I like that actually, to be honest, most of this body is actually taken up with the colour of the pen. So there's only a little bit of an ink window here at the base there, but I like it. I do, and I love this nib. It's a very bouncy nib, so I love how that writes as well. So that's my currently inked pens for this week. I think now let's go do a writing sample. So the first pen I have inked up this week is the Visconti Opera Master Corvina. So I think let's do an ink swatch here. Now this is a very broad nib, it's a stub nib, so it will put down a very broad line. So this is the Visconti Opera Master Corvina, and it's a 1.3mm stub nib, and it's a 23 cat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is Visconti Bordeaux, which is a really nice red ink. The next pen is the Visconti Opera Master Stardust. So both of these pens are a True Fate exclusive, or were a True Fate exclusive. I believe that both of these are now long sold out. There was only, I think, just looking at the pen here, trying to find it, can't even actually find it on the pen. I believe it's 28 worldwide that were on this, that were made of this pen. So this is Visconti Opera Master Stardust, and it is a 1.3mm 23 cat palladium nib. And then the ink in here again is Visconti Bordeaux, but that is a nice underrated Visconti ink. The next pen is the Atelier Lusso Andromeda in the Vulcan's Forge. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now this is a broad nib, it's an orange ink. So orange inks tend to write a little bit more on the very dry side, I find. So this is an Atelier Lusso Andromeda, and it's the Vulcan's Forge, and it's a broad steel Yovo nib. And the ink in here is Sailor Gentle Apricot, which is a beautiful orange ink. The next pen is the Atelier Lusso Andromeda Tectonic Seas. So we'll do an ink swatch again. And this is more of a wet writing ink. So it's an Atelier Lusso Andromeda Tectonic Seas in a broad steel nib. And then the ink in here is Akamon number 1, and it's Passage Blur, which I find is a lovely blue ink. The next pen is the Pelikan M805 Ocean Swirl, and we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is quite a lovely tealy coloured ink. So this is the Pelikan M805 Ocean Swirl, and it's a broad 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Marine, which is a nice sort of more of an aqua turquoisey colour. The next pen is the M805 Vibrant Blue. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And I find this is quite a high saturated ink, although it doesn't really sheen. But it seems to be more of a thicker ink. So this is a Pelikan M805 Vibrant Blue in a broad 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Azure Blue, which is quite a saturated ink. The next pen is the Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is a fine nib, so you will find that it puts down a fine line. You can just see how fine this nib can go. It's quite a fine writing nib. So it's a Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog in a fine 23 cat palladium nib, and then the ink in here is Waterman Inspired Blue. The next pen is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Caput Mundi. So now we'll go back to a medium nib. And this is quite a wet writing nib, but also a wet writing ink as well. So it's a Visconti Homo Sapiens Caput Mundi in a medium 23 cat palladium nib, and then the ink in here is Pelikan Edelstein Garnet, which is actually becoming quite a favourite red ink of mine. The next pen is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Jade. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now this is a medium nib. It's a little bit more on the firmer side for a 23 cat palladium nib, and the ink is a little bit more drier as well. So it's a Visconti Homo Sapiens Jade in a medium 23 cat palladium nib, and the ink in here is Pelikan Edelstein Jade. And then the last pen is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Midnight in Florence. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now this is a medium nib, but it actually has quite a bounce to it, so it can put down a little bit more of a broader line to it. So this is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Midnight in Florence, and it is a medium 23 cat palladium nib, and the ink in here is KWZ Gummy Berry. So I think let's look at these pens and inks one more time. We have a Visconti Opera Master Corvina with a 1.3mm 23 cat palladium stub nib, inked up with Visconti Bordeaux. We have a Visconti Opera Master Stardust with a 1.3mm 23 cat palladium stub nib, inked up with Visconti Bordeaux. We have an Atelier Lusso Andromeda in the Vulcan's Forge with a broad steel nib, inked up with Sailor Gentle Apricot. We have an Atelier Lusso Andromeda in the Tectonic Seas with a broad steel nib, inked up with Akamar No. 1 Passage Bleu. We have a Pelikan M805 Ocean Swirl in a broad 18 cat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Marine. We have a Pelikan M805 Vibrant Blue in a broad 18 cat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Azure Blue. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog in a fine 23 cat palladium nib, inked up with Waterman inspired blue. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Caput Mundi in a medium 23 cat palladium nib, inked up with Pelikan Edelstein Garnet. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Jade in a medium 23 cat palladium nib, inked up with Pelikan Edelstein Jade. And then last but not least, we have the Visconti Homo Sapiens Midnight in Florence in a medium 23 cat palladium nib, inked up with KWZ Gummy Berry. So there you have it, that's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.